Hello, good evening. I hope everyone is well. I hope everyone can hear me okay. I hope that I'm not echoing or any of those kind of things. And everything is good. Angry Birds, I'll try and look at Verge at the end. I'm going to look at Litecoin. There's a list. So I'm going to start tonight with a few of the legacy markets, just because I think sometimes it's quite interesting what's going on. This week is options expiration week. Stock index options, which often people use to hedge, expire this week. And so do the VIX options, which are another way that people hedge their long positions in stock indexes. And they expire on Wednesday. Very often, you do not see weakness until the at least the VIX options expire. So although everything looks a little bit toppy at the moment, I would be surprised if we collapsed. That's sort of 7 out of 10 though, and every now and then there'll be a notable week where that trade doesn't work. The real normal trade for OPEX week which is what they call it when the options expire, is to buy weakness on Wednesday or Thursday night and you sell the rally on Monday. And so if you had done that last week, this would be Thursday, Friday here, sell the open on Monday. That would have been a very nice little bounce trade in the E-mini. And it's possible that we have done 3 waves up here and we are about to do another leg lower. For me though, I like to look at Fibonacci patterns here in the S&P. This is a reversal at the 786 fib. When you reverse at a 786 fib, you usually find support or your target. If you break the 61.8, which is the underneath it, your target is usually the 38.2, your first target. Second target would then be the 236 fib, which would be down here. So, you know, the S&P really does love this 786 fib. So I think that we've got further to fall in the S&P before we turn around, at least back to 46.58 and potentially a little bit lower. Potentially we could do 786 going this way, which puts us back down to around this 236, which would be 46.40 and back to these lows. So 2 levels that I'm watching in stock indexes. And then, yeah, I don't think we'll collapse. I think we might freak everybody out down here, but I don't see this collapsing. Similar pattern here in the Nasdaq. Here we are at all times highs, but we've had this drop rally. I think this potentially is a B leg, which means we would be looking at a C leg, but the Nasdaq really likes a 61.8 fib. And so if we look at that, that's where we've reversed. Sometimes you bounce back from the 38.2, so we're at bounce levels here. And sometimes you drop that little bit further to the 236 fib, which would mean a third touch false break of this trend line, which is a very common pattern. So I would not be surprised at all to see this have a little rally, one more dip lower, and then freak everybody out, and then we'll see what happens from there. This support here will either hold or it won't. If we break down, obviously we're looking at a bigger correction, and we're going to have one of those rare OPEX weeks where we see quite a lot of weakness. What we have seen lately is the stock indexes and the dollar rallying together. That's usually the sign of a strong economy or a good COVID recovery for the USA. Certainly we're absolutely ripping since we broke above the 200 weekly moving average last week in the dollar. And this is really downward pressure on crypto and pretty much everything that's priced in dollars as well. Anything you're trading that's priced in dollars, you do not want to see the dollar ripping. The dollar index is a little bit biased. It's very heavily weighted in the euro, but it still applies. So let's talk about fib patterns and where we're likely to stop when we look at this. I think if we look at support and resistance and we look left, we've got a really clear support and resistance level coming up, not that far off, haven't we? But also, if I put my fibs on from this low to high, we bounced twice from this 886 fib level. For me, when you do that, your target is always the back to the 50% first. And so we have got more upside to come for this dollar index. We are headed back, therefore, for my money says 96 at least, and potentially to 100. And so more pain to come. does that mean any good trades in FX? Well, this meant that the little rally today in euro dollar was just a little bear flag, and we've had a really strong breakdown. If we take a look, this is really, bad news, unfortunately, again, for the dollar index, because it's so heavily weighted in euros. So if we look at the fib levels that we're ripping through, and in fact, if we look at the bigger pattern, I think that we've got at least 112, if not 111 to come, and more downside for this euro. I've drawn this as a tightening wedge, but really I should draw it as a parallel channel, I think. And if we do that and I get out of this log scale, there we go. More pain to come till we hit the bottom of this channel and 1.1288. My favorite, there's a few charts I really like. If I look at these commodity currencies, they've all got really strong resistance on back tests of these daily and weekly moving averages. In the Aussie dollar, we're back testing a broken 50 moving average, and the same in the Kiwi dollar. My favorite chart, I think, is the dollar Swiss, and if I wanted to buy dollars, I would buy dollars against the Swiss, because I really like trading with a national bank on my side, and the Swiss National Bank are currency manipulators. They are always trying to weaken the Swiss franc, so you will be trading with a big bank on your side. Today we broke above this daily 50 moving average, which was support, then resistance, and so I think buying pullbacks in this dollar Swiss is really favored. And if I look big picture at where we're going in this, my favorite setup, bar none, is an ABC, so three-wave pattern back to a 50% retrace. And if we go from the highs back in 2016 to the lows, that 50% level not only is really good support and resistance, it's the weekly 200 moving average, and it would be a really nice ABC if we ended up there. So although we've got some resistance to come at 0.936, I think my big swing target for this dollar Swiss, or this dollar move, is 0.955, and so that's a really nice currency swing trade. The other one that I particularly like is the dollar yen. This was a really nice breakout today that we were looking at in my group. This is an hourly. This didn't look like a head and shoulders. If you've got a head and shoulders, the best head and shoulders have left and right shoulders that are approximately equal. In this one, therefore, it should have broken down here to be kind of balanced, and it wasn't. So this break higher says that this was just an ABC correction, and we are on the move up again here in dollar yen after this lovely bull flag pullback. So let's take those away. Clearly we've got to get through these previous highs, but for me on the weekly, we've got a really nice big upside target here, and this comes from if I measure this first bounce swing. So remember, I'm always looking for, my favorite trades are equal measure moves, targets. And so if I measure from this low to high, here's our three-wave pullback. Here's our next leg higher. We got above the 61.8 level and it became support. And so as long as we stay above 113.3, next upside target for me in dollar yen is 120.8. And so really nice. I think if we can get some momentum, we should break these previous highs here, which have held us back around 114.5. And so above 114.5, I think we're on target for 120 in dollar yen. And so that's going to help some of the stronger other currencies. And in yen pairs as well, there are some kind of nice looking charts here, like this Canadian yen. This also looks like another nice bullish flag pullback. Just testing the daily 20 moving average, and so I'm looking for that one to pull higher as well. I think there's some really nice chart patterns out there, and those are my favorite kind of swings in the dollar. Now that's not going to be that's going to be a bit of a headwind for a lot of stuff that's looked quite nicely lately, and that mainly, I would say, the silver. I'm a big fan. I think silver's set, if you look at the dollar, if you look at the silver against gold, I think that silver is set to outperform, and we made a very nice pattern here. We've got knocked back initially at our weekly 50 moving average, but there's really good support at silver for 24.7. In gold, we have had a little bit of sideways chop here. I'm still bullish gold, but I think silver will still outperform. So I'm looking for back to 1921 in gold, which would be an equal measured move from this March 21 low, the low earlier this year. That would be an equal swing higher, and that 1923 is of course a really big level, because that's the high from 2011, back testing that level. So by pullbacks, I think gold, silver and the dollar can rally together unusually, and silver to outperform. So I just want to have a quick look at those legacy markets and a quick look at Tesla, everybody's favorite stock. Now, so as you know, I do a lot of fib projections. So there's a lot of lines on my chart. I'm going to pop it into log scale like this. And these projections come from previous corrections. And, you know, they do tend to line up, and they're very good for risk management, if not so much for target. They do work, though, pretty well for targets. And so I'm going to say that as long as I think we're headed back, you know, to the weekly 20 moving average, and I think we're headed back to this previous support. Support becomes resistance, resistance becomes support at 884. And so I'm not tempted to buy this yet. If we look at fibs on a more shorter term though, and we see where we are, if we go from this low here, so this is the most recent swing that we're in. First off, I look at the 236 to see if we are kind of reacting to these levels, and we kind of are. And so here we are at the 38.2, and this would represent 50% back, this support level. So a pretty common support level. So I think a little bit further to fall, 900, 893 is where I am looking for Tesla to come back to before we find support. So not sure how that would be on a swing, but that's where we're going. And then as long as we can hold this level, I think that we still have room to go higher from here, and the next upside swing would be 1432. If we were to get underneath this level and then find resistance, and then potentially that would be underneath the daily 50 moving average, then I think we might be looking at a bigger correction, maybe equal to this one. But for now, that's 893 would be 50% of this rally, and a really good place to look for support in Tesla. So not done yet, going down yet. Might have a little bounce in the next couple of days, but I think it's got further to fall. Okay, so the next chart we're going to look at is Bitcoin. So one of the things about new all-time highs, or when you make a new high, is, you know, like we saw here when we were in this nice upswing before. When you make a new high, you want to see buyers come in. You want to see buyers chase the market because they're frightened they're going to miss out, that they're going to get priced out forever, and that up it's going to go without them. So when we made a new high here at the end of September, that's what we saw. Unfortunately, since we tagged those April highs again, we've got a little bit choppy and overlapping, and haven't seen that kind of, you know, push that it's going to go without you moves. And that makes me a little bit nervous that this is all part, this correction that we've been in since we made the high in April isn't over, and that we are not in a new uptrend. It's possible that we are doing a big three-wave correction here. Now, one of the reasons I don't like that idea is because Bitcoin has a very strong seasonal pattern, and the seasonal pattern for Bitcoin says that we should rally into the year end and see weakness in January. The problem is, I think that that's come from a couple of, you know, the famous, obviously, high at 20,000 when we had that horrible move lower. And for me, you know, in terms of timing, I would really like us to see us, in fact, do the opposite. Make a three-wave correction here, make a low around January, and then that's it, and have a really, really big next year. So I'm not entirely sold on this. New highs, new upswing, we're going to keep going up. And I know a lot of people whose analysis I really respect are really bullish. It's just, I'm still a little bit nervous. So what would make me a little nervous, really nervous here? I think if I just took this most recent swing, you can see that this 236 fib here lines up with kind of these previous highs, maybe a little bit higher. And normally I would look for the 236 from the low lows and this prior swing. So I think below, if we get a bearish weekly reversal this week here, I'm going to look for us to pull back to 59,500. So basically a back test of 60,000. And if that holds, I'm going to say, you know what, this is just a little nice wave 4 correction. We're still in an upswing and everything is fine. But I think if we drop underneath 59,500, and that's going to count as a failure for me at these previous highs, and potentially a bigger three-wave correction with a C leg to come. And if that's the case, if I measure from this high to this low, project it from here, then this swing being 61.8 of would be the first support, and that's also where the weekly 50 moving average is. So back to 46,000. And if we did a big equal measured move here, or even retested the lows, that would be back to 32. Now, I think the world's got to pretty much end for that to happen at this point. So, but there is a risk then that if we can't hold above 60,000 or 59,500, that we could see quite a big correction from here. So, until that happens, as you know, now I sold quite a lot of my Bitcoin when we got here about 5 weeks ago, and I haven't really committed yet to getting back in. And one of the reasons I was looking at this, you know, you really want to see 5 waves for a bullish sequence, and this rally from October just looks like choppy 3 waves still to me. And so short term, this still looks like a never mind the bigger pattern, this looks like, you know, a bit correction like this as well, doesn't it? Now I'd be very happy if that happens and this, you know, we hold support here and something like that, and I've got a good 3-wave pattern to buy against. But for now, I'm kind of on the sidelines. I'm not bullish or not bearish. And so when this instance, I'd take a look at some of the others to lead the way. Sometimes Litecoin is a very good leading indicator. And sometimes Ethereum is as well. In fact, Ethereum can be a lot more technical. It used to be the twisted sister, but it can be a lot more technical than Bitcoin. If I look at Ethereum, let's put some indicators in. One of the things that concerns me here is we've got some bearish divergence, not just on the weekly, but if I go to the daily, here, you know, we've got some strong bearish divergence. That means that the price is making higher highs, but the oscillator's making a lower high. And here we've really struggled, double top. That points to me, usually, this is what you see when a top is coming. And so then you look for the chart to confirm the pattern. If I put some fibs on to see where we are at a 113 extension from this correction, but we're also, most importantly, at a 1168 from this big 3-wave correction. And so this is starting to look a little, potentially, 3-wave correction as well. Maybe if we don't count that and say that was an X wave. So we go 1, 2, 3, you know, we're very close to that, aren't we? So I'm hoping that stocks rally, they pick up Bitcoin and the crypto with them, and we have a really nice strong move. but a lot of this is suggesting potentially a bigger correction here. So what would the sign for me be that we're going to see a bigger correction here? I think if we go all the way from this swing low, our first support is going to be that 236 fib. That's quite a long way away though, isn't it? We kind of want a an indication before then that, you know, bigger correction is coming. If you look at how this daily 20 has been support all the way up, support ever since we got this bullish cross of our moving averages, support, support, support. You see these lows here. I think if we break these lows in this 20 moving average, that's what's going to tell us that we're coming back to the 236 fib. And then when we get there, we'll decide if we're going to hold it and find support and carry on higher, just do a correction on the scale of one of these, or if we're going to do a bigger move. So yeah, let's say 4,500 then, really 4493, so 4,500, these previous lows in the 20 moving average, a close under there would say that we're coming back to 4120, and then we see what happens at 4120. That is a great place to look for support. By then everyone will be really freaked out, even though we haven't, well, I suppose it's nearly 20%, but that's what I would be looking for in ETH then, for where the support is. And I'm just a little bit wary of this bearish divergence. You can see, yeah, there it is on the daily. Okay, do I think upcoming Black Friday has any significance? I think that the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday has some significance. The American holidays do have an effect on crypto, and very often with an extended holiday weekend. So we've got Thanksgiving and Black Friday. Very often with that scenario, you will see that whatever the trend is going into the holiday. So if we were to sell off into the holiday and then find support here around the Thanksgiving holiday, I would say that, or Black Friday, after Black Friday, I would say that that would be an ideal place, you know, for us to get bullish again. Because you do see a very marked change in trend, usually around 3 or 4 day big holiday weekends. Okay, the D18MA is a trend line. Yeah, oh, you mean from here? It is, isn't it, really? It's a channel, isn't it? So I think as long as we, you know, yeah, as long as we stay above that, you know, I think we're in pretty good shape. In terms of fibs, we're really not in a downtrend unless we start losing, you know, 4120. And really, you know, we've got still really good support down at this daily 50 as well. So is it a pullback? Are we looking a little bit toppy? Yes, we are. But just a pullback in an uptrend for now. So, you know, it never hurts if you've had a really big run and we're starting a little bit of a, like, I think there's somebody in my group that bought this at 120 or something. You know, it never hurts, I think, to take some profit and then buy it back. I'm a massive fan of Fibonacci. This is easy technical analysis for people. You know, it's a moving average on the candle color. So when we're red, we're in a correction, we're going down. When we're going green, we're going up. And on the daily, the higher time frame that you use, the better the signals are from these moving averages on the candles. And so you can see, you know, very often when we go from red to green, there is follow through, especially if you're riding it with the trend. So you're riding above the moving averages. So I don't think it would hurt to take some profit in ETH and buy some back cheaper. Now, the other one that kind of is a good leading indicator for Bitcoin is Litecoin. And we had a really nice, well, I thought we had a really nice breakout. Let's put it this way. So in Litecoin. So this is our first target. We hit our first target off the lows. And here we've got that equal measured move scenario again. So A, B, C. We reversed to the 786. So our first target is the 38.2. So we hit it with bells on. Very nice. Really from this double bottom, this was our target and we've hit it. Key thing is here is, are we going to just pause and then carry on to our second target up here or not? You know, yesterday we had a big move and we closed above this 38.2 target level. Let me put that back on. And so on a pullback, we wanted to see if this was going to be support for us to keep going higher. It's at 265. So here we are really at the level, aren't we? If we're going to keep going up in Litecoin, this is really where we kind of want to do it from. Then we go back, retest the highs, new high. We can say on our way to our next target, which is at 379. So Litecoin is a little bit more optimistic maybe, but you know, we're building a sideways range at this level. We haven't really broken out, and so you know, I'm looking for that level to hold in Litecoin if we're going to keep going up. Okay, so let's look at some more. Lots of requests tonight. So, but I think my colleague Petra in my group, her favourite chart by far is AVAX. Good reason. Really nice chart. Let's take a look at it. If I can find it. Can't always. Here we go. Okay. So let's start on a weekly chart. One of the reasons I really like this is it's kind of gone beyond all the targets I had for it. It's super bullish. Is this a little bit of a pause candle on the weekly? Yes, it is. But this one, you know, when I'm looking for this 1.618 level to be support if we're going to keep going higher. That's at 91.81. That's also going to be 50% of last week's open close. So a really good support level. And on the daily, you can see that's the support level. So as long as we hold above it in AVAX, we've got more upside. 142 would be the next target. Yeah. Do crypto sometimes make slightly higher highs and then reverse? Yes, it did it here. Does it quite a lot in crypto. So the key thing is going to be, are we going to hold this level when we back test it for support? Here on the hourly, you can see we are coming back. This will be the crucial test. So underneath this hourly 200 moving average or a daily close underneath 91.81, potentially bigger pullback coming for AVAX. But otherwise, if you can hold it, I think that one looks amazing. Solana, so popular, Solana. Start with the daily chart. There's really a lot to like about Solana. We're in a very nice uptrend on the daily. We're in a very nice uptrend on the weekly. My issue that makes me a little bit scared and keeps me awake at night in this one is how far we are away from our moving averages on the weekly. Because for me, that's the best indicator of sort of, I'm just going to clean up my chart here. That's the best indicator of overbought and oversold. And you can imagine we could come all the way back to the 20 moving average here at 146, which is a long way back, and still be in a weekly uptrend. And so it's like a rubber band. I think you can get so far from them. So when I look at the daily moving averages, though, it's not so bad, is it? We are riding up very nicely each time we pull them up back to them. Everything looks good. This is a correction very similar in scale to this correction and this correction. But potentially we've done 5 waves up here and we could be due a bigger pullback to this previous wave 4 before we go up again. And that would mean back to this daily 50 moving average and 185. I still have a target higher. It would just be a correction for me. But as long as we hold above 221, I'm staying bullish Solana. So we've had a really nice rally today. Whenever you do that though, your weak points are always, you know, your measured moves, and we are really struggling to rally in this one, aren't we? Whenever it's choppy, overlapping, it's sideways, your moving averages are flat, you don't have a trend. So we don't have a trend at the moment. And so like Ethereum, even though this is performing really well, we are at risk that this is a little A leg, B leg, and another leg lower to come before we resume the uptrend in Solana. So there's no, I don't believe that this is the high. I still think we have another leg higher to 288. I just think that potentially we could see a bigger correction like this three-wave correction here before we resume the uptrend. That's all. So let's put our fibs on from the low to high. At the moment, we're holding the 236 fib pretty nicely. If that was to break, so if we were to close underneath 225, the two support levels I would be watching are 204 and 185, and below 185 I would get bearish, but underneath that daily 50 wouldn't be a good look at all. I much prefer this 204, and if we look at this most recent swing, that should be like the 61.8 as well. 209, yeah, 204 anyway. And these previous highs for a pullback. Okay, 100 angry jellybirds. You're very welcome. Thank you. It's always nerve-wracking. I have terrible stage fright. You have no idea. And like who cares what I think about a chart? I don't know why I worry so much, but there you go. There's my confession for tonight. That's Solana. Let's look at DOT. I'm a big fan of DOT. But we are, unfortunately, in a bigger correction. So I'm doing one of those. Yeah. Here we go. There's two kind of levels that we're really looking at. But whenever you start a bigger correction, always your previous swing low is really the most likely place. So when we do, for example, when we do in a trending market, when you do 5 waves up, right? The most common place for you to come back to with your 3-wave correction is this previous wave 4, because this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then you carry on. Because if you think about it, that's the trend, isn't it? An uptrend is higher highs and higher lows. And so this is why previous lows and previous highs are always kind of dangerous places for reversals and changes. So if we were to apply that theory here, we can see that this most recent swing low, therefore, lines up with this 61.8 level at 39.90. So if this continues or accelerates, because what I don't like about this is how we keep getting held underneath this 20 moving average for the last 5 days. And see how before the moving average was support here for 4 days, support here for 2 days, support, now it's resistance. And so back to 39.90, and these lows I think are where DOT is coming back to. And then I'm going to look for this to find support here and hopefully another leg higher. I would be disappointed if this is all we did and it doesn't kind of line up for me. So back to 39.90 potentially. Now we could also, I suppose, from this low put. I was looking, when I'm just looking where to put fibs, I'm like looking at the most recent kind of 5-wave swing. If we do that here, you can see this 236 was resistance, and this 39.90 is also 50% back of this most recent swing. So I'm going to leave it at that. That's where I'd like to see support for DOT if it's going to keep trending higher. Okay, so let's take a look at MATIC and some more. Polygon is trending on Twitter, so let's look at MATIC. Everyone's saying let's do that. MATIC is always one of those charts where I have so many charts, I can't remember what it is, and I kind of like to remind myself what I said last time, because then I'm not crazy. Here we go. So I'm doing my lives a bit earlier. I hope this is better for people. It certainly works better for me. Okay. This is one of those charts where, let's take this off. MATIC. I have to say I'm not so bullish MATIC. If I put my fibs on from this high to low, I think this was a big ABC. Okay, and then when you rally, you're always looking for this to become a really nice kind of 5 waves, impulsive move higher. And do you know, if this is our wave 1 here, wave 4 can't come into wave 1 territory, so in an impulse move. And so we're sitting like right on this, you know, we really can't have this any lower. We've reversed, right, at an equal measured move. So this swing and this swing are equal. That's always the sign of a correction. And where was that? 61.8, 786. It's kind of, yeah. Was that a Gartley pattern? No, it wasn't. In fact, let's put that back. So, yeah, if we break lower here from here, that would mean that this was just a 3-wave correction, and the most likely retrace is like a 786 going the other way, which would put us around these lows, which would mean. So unfortunately, I know. So this would mean back down here to 0.96 for MATIC. So really crucial support here. It does need to start thinking about going up again soon. Otherwise, I would sell my MATIC and I would wait. Back to the big round number 1.0 anyway. So sorry about that. And so the next one we're going to look at, is VeChain. Now VeChain is very similar. And so this is, you know, our big fear, isn't it, in ETH and Bitcoin, is that we've done a big 3-wave rally and it's a correction and not a new upswing. And, you know, when I look at a lot of these big charts like MATIC here, and VeChain is another one that's done the same pattern, yeah, I'm a little bit nervous that this is what we're seeing across the board, because in VeChain, if I measure from this high, this low to this high, okay, and I think that this was, so this was A, and then I think this is a funky B. From here, this is equal. Either way, if it's a choppy overlapping 5 waves, this wave 5 and wave 1 are equal here. And if I measure it the other way, if I measure this one, in fact, I don't ignore this lows, call this and say just these 3, then this also was an equal measured move here. And so double trouble. So that means if VeChain is going to keep going higher, it's got to break above 0.1828. And this is pretty major resistance here. Where is our support then? Back at this 0.618 level at 0.144. Now, we could, if we take them away, the measured move scenario, we could say that this is kind of a woolly 50% level, isn't it? Pretty strong lows, support and resistance on the left, and we're kind of washing through it. And if that was the case, then we would look for 50% back. And again, that's going to put us at least down to 0.1 in VeChain. So we really need that new high. Again, I'm going to measure from here to here. And from here, you can see there's at 0.182 is what we need to get above. If we do keep going higher, we're going to go all the way up to 0.245. But we may need a bigger 3-wave pullback in VeChain before that happens. So a good place to protect your profit, maybe, in this one. Again, this is looking like 3 waves down, 3 waves up, which is correction. So another leg lower before we go up again, and something like this. So I don't know that this is the high, but if it was today, this would be our support level in VChain dollar, and it's down here at 0.138. So sell some, buy it back at 0.138 in VChain. BNB. Now BNB was like my favorite, one of my favorite charts last week. Was it the week before? I can't remember. That's what happens when you get old. You forget everything. In some ways that's good, but it's not all good. Okay. So, you know, one of the things, especially when you have a really sharp drop, the coolest thing to do is just put the fibs on and treat it like a ladder and say, if we reverse here, we're going to come back to here and so on. And then once we start trending, we get a really nice ladder move like this. So for example, here we've stored at an 886, but that's only a reversal if we close underneath the 786. So here in Binance Coin Tether, as long as we stay above 589, this is just bullish consolidation, and this lovely swing that we've been in since the 27th of September can continue. So 3 waves down, 3 waves up. This is the support that we need to hold. We don't want a daily close underneath 589.80. And so just watch that level, because if we do, we could come back to these lows, back to maybe 540. It's going to be a much, you know, when we're at 635, that's quite a lot of profit to give back. You don't really kind of want to do that. And if everything's going to go into a bigger correction, you know, they all go down together, don't they? So for now, I am bullish. I see this as sideways consolidation as long as we stay above 589. I have a big picture, a new high, really nice new target, I think 800 to 820. That's what I'm looking for. So if we go from here, that doesn't really help, does it? So that's my view of Binance. Sideways consolidation. Let's stay and not close below 589. BENQI. Let's look at BENQI. I'm saying it all wrong. In BENQI, I thought this was a really nice breakout. We've been looking at this. So as you know, fib levels, level to level, if you blast through it, you look for it to become support. So we blasted through the 236. It was support though. Here's our 38.2 and we blasted it through it. So we need this to be support if we're going to keep going up. It's also a really good support and resistance level. Let's look left here. This is not to be sneezed at. So we want 0.2043 to be support. At the moment, we're right here. This is do or die, really. We could squeak a little bit underneath, but we don't want a daily close underneath if we can help it. Oh, it's looking a bit fugly. Those moving averages are all a bit lower. Damn. On this 4 hour as well, you know, I'd like to see 50% of this 4 hour hold as support. So this, for me, you know, is it. Otherwise, this is a little bit of a false breakout, unfortunately. And potentially, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I still think this should have another leg lower. But the problem is, we might come back to this orange support before we do it. I think this is 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 3. Should see 4 of 3. Could be back to here, and then another leg higher. So yeah, if we can't hold 0.204, look for it to come back to 1.55 before another swing up in BENQI. Key. Okay. Spell. Now Spell, I'm going to be not quite so depressing about this one because I think it's made a nice pullback, and I think that this actually has a nice shot of a move higher here in Spell. Hopefully. So this is Spell token. I think this is a nice looking 3 waves back. Let's measure. There we go. So we haven't quite tagged, but it's so close, isn't it? There, we almost tagged it. In fact, if we do this properly here, then... So here's our first swing of correction. 3-wave ABC, and we started again. So I don't know if I've measured it completely right, but spell token looks to me like it's setting up to turn up higher again. This candle today, though, is not happy. It's all the way back. It's back underneath the 20 moving average. If we can't close above the 236 fib, then it's going to point to a bigger correction before we go up again, and it's not really the bullish reversal that we want. So let's let it pull back. Let's wait and see where it closes. But to be going up, we really need to hold above 0.0238, which is also the daily 20 moving average. And that would say bottom is in. There's lots to like here. We've had, you know, what, if we switch to Fibonacci, you know, we've had looks like 10 candles in a row, red, first green. We really should see some follow through to the upside. It's just that first move is a little bit, people are taking profit. So let's buy the dips and spell. We might even end up being a inverted head and shoulders pattern here. That would be good too, a good look. But we need to hold above 0.0238. I'd like to see a nice little bullish close in this. That would be cool if we could bounce here from these moving averages. But that would be the confirmation for me that spell is going up. But I think it's really nicely set up to do it, to be honest. Okay, Hathor. So for Hathor fans, I have to say I think this is one that may have reached a target. So if I take this away from this low, we've reached, this is a weekly chart, we've reached the equal measured move from this first swing. They're all very nice 5-wave swings, but you know, especially when it's a coin is new, they do tend to kind of do that equal thing. If I measure from this first low here, 1, 2, we reached 1.618 of this first swing. That's also a very common relationship. So potentially, if this is a wave 1, 2, 3, we're looking at a wave 3 pullback. So my old Labrador is very sick, struggling to breathe at the moment. We're not having a good time. Okay, so if this is a wave 3, the most common pullback is 38.2, and that would be back to 1.61. So back to 1.61, ideal support for this if Hathor is going to keep going higher. If Hathor closes back underneath 1.61 or the 236 fib from this low, which we're already underneath, I think that potentially we've got a much bigger correction, and I would take profit and wait. We're very stretched in terms of the weekly moving averages in this one. So 1.61 for Hathor. Let's look at Link. Link is unfortunately, a lot of these alts are saying the same thing, and Link is another one with the corrective pattern here. So when you do 5-wave moves like this and you do 3-wave corrections, the most common relationship between these 3 waves is equal, or one of the swings 61.8 of the other swing. So it would be 5 waves up, and then so you'd have a shorter one like that. And this third swing is 61.8 of that swing. And that, I think, is potentially what we're seeing here in LYNQ. So we've had our big drop and we're looking for a nice, strong, impulsive move higher. And instead what we're seeing is this swing stuck at 61.8 of this. And it looks like one of those swing failure patterns or a marginal new high where the buyers didn't come in and chase it up higher anymore. As long as we don't go too far or back above 34.95, gives us a target of 43.6. But at the moment, this is looking a bit, unfortunately, like a rejection. So if we do that and we take that away, a rejection on this swing. Oops, I've come out the wrong way around. Yeah, 29.57 would be 50% back here. Thank you. It's a very difficult time. Our dogs never live long enough, do they? So 50% back, 29.57. If I'm wrong, that's kind of where I would expect this to find support and have another go. But at the moment, I would definitely, in LYNQ with this pattern that we're looking at, take some profit off and be waiting to buy it. Again, put these Heikenassi on. We've gone red. Let's see where we come back to and go green before we buy it again. Okay. LYXE and MANA. Did I get that chart up? I think I did. Gosh, no, I didn't. So bad. LYXE. I'm sorry, Jack. Let's look at this one. This is very tempting. Okay. I think I'm going to go from there. Well, I do think that this, potentially this equal measured move should be support here, and 31.2. And we, you can see support becomes resistance, resistance becomes support, and we look like we're bouncing very nicely from it. If I put my Heikenassi on, it looks ideal, like a lovely buy, doesn't it? Great level, great price action, daily moving averages here, everything's to like. The problem is if I sneak at the regular candle, you can see that with everything coming back, we've got a really nasty pullback in this one. But I'm going to look at the bigger picture and say this should keep going higher from here. This stalled at the 50% from this high to low. So unfortunately, that means probably 50% back before we go up again. And that was your wave one done. So 50% back again here. Mean reverting markets tend to keep mean reverting. So if it stops at a 50%, you look for 50% back again. Got a little bit further to go. And then, yeah, this, let's see. Look, that 50% is right where the daily 20 moving average is. So with this moving average having been, you know, support, resistance, 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 let's see if it can be support again. So, yeah, ideal support then. And you can see it's ideal support. 32.67, a little bit further, and then let's see if we can turn up higher again in this one. Big picture, I really do like LYXE. $48 would be a nice target, wouldn't it? So good luck in that one. MANA. I'm going to start on Mana looking at this, because these these fib levels, which I haven't even drawn right. Let's see what's going on here. There we go. Let's lock them. Okay, I put on from this this correction here my fib projections extensions. This 2.618 has been resistance. If I measure like this is also looking to me like we're in a wave 4. So this is wave 1, 2, and this is also a really common relationship, really good relationship. And so you can see that this previous fib level here is support in Mana, and this fib level here is resistance. If this was a wave 3, then we would expect 236 or 38.2 of this whole swing to be support, and then we carry on next leg up. Let's change the color. Orange is good. Orange is always good. I think we're sitting on that 38.2 ideal support. I know we're underneath it, 50%. So yeah, I really do feel like this is 1, 2, 3, 4. We should carry on higher again. This wave 2 took 1, 2, 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. So we've got at least another week, maybe one more, and then we should continue higher. My next upside target for Mana is 5.6. So if you're in it, right, it's only if you've bought it in the last 2 weeks that you're going to be a little bit nervous here, aren't you? If you bought this double bottom, you'd be looking for this uptrend to resume. If this correction is done, we should just do a shallow pullback here and then carry on, shouldn't we? But if the correction is not done and we have got another week or two, this would be our first swing, this would be our rally, and then we've got another. And so, you know, we could potentially come all the way back down to this 2.52 level again. So yeah, that's a bit of a bummer if you bought here, isn't it? So I would say tighten up your stop. Be prepared to buy it back again if it comes down here and retests and turns higher again. And we just have to be patient. I think it looks fantastic, big picture, but that doesn't mean that we're not gonna, you know, doesn't mean that this correction doesn't have another week of sideways before we go up again. Okay. So key support at 2.5 for Mana. Watch out that we don't do another swing. Okay, and what haven't I done? I have not done. Can I take an XVG? What time is it? I've gone over my, I was determined to finish at 7, but I will do a little bit more. Here's XVG. In this one, I think we're making a big wedge. We've just stalled at this resistance. Support, key support for XVG for me is this 200 moving average. See how it is resistance, resistance, and this previous high if we're going to swing higher. And so 0.0276, 0.0276. Beyond that, and we're going all the way back down to the bottom of the wedge again. So that's key support for me. We've got a little bit further to fall before we test it. And I wouldn't be long until we do, and you see a nice big bounce from there. Okay, so that's my thoughts about Verge. Let's see if that daily 200 moving average can catch it. I've covered Litecoin. I will Said SE Limited. SE Limited. Wait. Gosh, this looks like it's done a very nice 3-wave correction, ready to go up again, doesn't it? It's just, these moving averages are just starting to flatten out a little bit. That makes me a little bit nervous. I'm just going to See what that RSI says. Yeah, it's a little bit of a bearish. I do like it when it holds the 50% in the middle though. Yeah, what's not to like? It hasn't quite closed back above that daily 20. Has it done it with a regular candle? No. Okay, so let's make this a channel. Let's say that we really kind of need to break out from this channel. So I think it's good to be long, but or not. Where's that 50%? Okay, we're in that 61.8, 38.2. Let's go down a time frame. So from this low to the high, you know how in between the 61.8 and the 38.2, you can go back and forward, and you're looking for this 50% to be support. Well, if we do that here, we found support here, it looks like. Let's go down. Next leg up. So yeah, let's ride it and see if we can break out of the top of this channel. I think if we can, so we need to turn a little bit higher. We're just turning up, aren't we? She said, hopefully. Yeah, we are just turning up. Okay, we're going to be a little bit bullish here, and we're going to be a lot bullish if we can break out of the top of this channel. And then, of course, next leg up. I hate doing stocks that I haven't looked at first, because stocks have such long history. I like to spend a bit of time on them. I might spend some time on this chart, Saeed, and I'll put it in the group for you tomorrow, because I know you're in the group. I tell you what makes me nervous, and it makes me nervous that this is a fifth wave and 5 waves up in our fifth wave, and so that it might be a more important high, that's all. Okay, I'm going to have a quick look at SHIB, and then I'm going to say goodnight. So, key is picked up, that's quite good to see. Here's my SHIB chart. So in this one, I put all my fib, zoom out, I put all the fibs from the lows to this high here. I think that there's 5 waves back here, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, really extended wave 5. And sometimes that means that we can do a really extended pull back and test the bottom of this wave 5, which would be a 786 retrace. So we need to be a little bit careful. At the moment, we're bouncing very nicely from the 50%. That's what you want to see. And confirmation that you're going up again would be back above this 38.2, which is being a little bit of trouble. I've got an alarm on it. I'm trying to get above this in SHIB. And that would be, for me, to be the signal that we're going up again. If we could get back above 5654. So yeah, I've got an alert there. I'm going to buy there, I think. Now, if it's not a new upswing, then I would measure this, project it from here and say, you know, we're probably going to get stuck around 6,800 in SHIB. But if this is a new upswing, we should see some really strong upside movement. So back above 5,675 would be a good look for this one. ADA, I'm afraid ADA's not quite my favorite at the moment. I think it's struggling a little bit relatively. When I look at the daily chart here, you know, from this most recent 5 waves up, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we are stuck in between the 61.8, 38.2. That's very often where you consolidate, the bulls and the bears fight it out. It's the golden ratio zone, and that's where we are stuck. Flat moving averages mean no trend here on the daily. The good news is that when you break out from being bunched up like this, you get a really strong trend like we did here. But what we need to do is break out. And whilst we're in this sideways range, golden ratio zone, there's a risk that we could still retest these lows before we go up again in ADA. So not a buy yet for me. I would love to see what happens on a retest of 1.8, because if 1.8 doesn't hold, we're going to go down to 1.45 before we go up again. So that's what I'm thinking for ADA. Okay, good night, everybody. Thanks for coming. Hug your dogs tonight, because you don't know how long you'll have.